Hello and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today we're talking about the top 10 scary New York urban legends part 2. Now you guys seem to enjoy part 1 so much that we are back at it again. We give you what you want. Before I get into this list, I just want to ask you guys if you've ever been to New York. What's your favorite thing to do there? I've been 3 times and I love the theater and I love the Chelsea High Line. Do leave me your comments in the comment section down below, and while you're there, why don't you leave this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend. And if you guys want to connect with me on social media, there is a link to my Instagram in the description box. Coming in at number 10, we have the dinner ghost of the West Village. I love the Village in New York. Not only is it, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful parts of this city, it also has some of the nicest restaurants. I've never eaten at 1 if by land, 2 if by sea, but it is said to be a beautiful old carriage house dating back to 1767. The interior seems romantic, and at first glance, the scariest thing about this famed eatery seems to be the price of dinner, but things get a whole lot spookier. In fact, the old building is said to be haunted by not 1 but 20 ghosts. When speaking to New York's Eater magazine, manager Roseanne Martino said that she'd seen a lot of ghostly activity, including picture frames tilting, flickering lights, and even plates flying off tables and smashing on the floor. She even said that some waiters have tried to take orders from guests sitting at tables only to find that there's nobody there. Some paranormal investigators believe that a few of the 20 ghosts are famous too. One ghost could be that of former Vice President Aaron Burr, and another a former Broadway starlet who likes a candle to be lit for her. Coming in at number 9, we have the Asylum of Roosevelt Island. If you've got a spare $4,000 to $5,000 American dollars a month to spend on rent, then you could be lucky enough to live in the Octagon building on Roosevelt Island. Not only would you need to be wealthy, you also need to be pretty fearless, as the former lunatic asylum is said to be haunted. The island itself is a stretch of land on the East River between Manhattan and Queens. It used to be known as Welfare Island because of the number of hospitals and institutions on the spit. The building was abandoned for nearly 50 years from 1955. That was until it was turned into apartments. Residents of the building have occasionally come across specters, but it is widely reported that pets categorically do not like the stairs. Dogs will regularly stop and bark at seemingly nothing. Do you want to be stuck on an island with ghosts? No, I don't think you do. Do you want to hear more about Roosevelt Island? If so, good. If the haunted ex-asylum didn't warn me off sufficiently, I have to say the old Smallpox Hospital is the icing on the spooky cake at number 8. Once again, in the middle of the East River stands the Renwick Ruins, where over 30,000 people died of smallpox. I suppose it made sense to treat people with a disease as contagious as smallpox on an island away from the majority of the city. Despite the area of quarantine, think what the dying people must have thought as they were trapped overlooking the city, filled with people they loved but they just couldn't touch. These days, the former 18th century Gothic-looking hospital stands completely abandoned and in ruins. Spotlights light up the terrifying old building at night, making it look extra specially dramatic. Locals don't feel good about the place, with many reporting ghostly sightings. The building's rep hasn't been enhanced by popular culture either. In Marvel's Hellcat, the hospital is taken over by a witch and her evil minions. This is a quirky little urban legend at number 7. We have Manhattan was sawn in half. What a strange urban legend, I really like it. So it goes that out there in New York City, once upon a time, part of the island of Manhattan was sinking. The story was told in scholar Benjamin Botkin's 1976 book, New York City Folklore. He said that in 1823 or 24, a contractor by the name of Lozier noticed that the southern end of Manhattan was going to sink. The only remedy, it seems, was to saw the island completely in half, turn around the southern half and reattach it. Elaborate. Apparently all of the labourers of New York got involved in the project, turning up in their swaves to save the city. Only it turns out when they turned up for work, it was all an elaborate ruse by Lozier, who had disappeared. Why is this scary, Rebecca? 2 reasons really. Okay, so imagine if it was true and the only way to stop a city from sinking was to cut it in half and then reattach it backwards. I'd be worried. Also, imagine being convinced that the city was going to sink only to find out that it was all a cruel joke. You'd want to punch old Lozier, wouldn't you? What a card. Coming in at number 6, we have the Empire State Building being a car killer. Driving in New York City is scary enough, but in Manhattan, urban legend has it that the Empire State Building is a kind of Bermuda Triangle for cars. For some reason in 2008, it seemed that cars started breaking down within a 5-block radius of the iconic 1930s landmark. We all know about Ford Mustangs on the observation deck of the Empire State, but has this car juju sent out weird vibes to jealous on-road vehicles? The New Yorker even wrote an article about the phenomenon in 2008, saying that cars' engines would simply die and their locks would malfunction, but when they were towed away from the building, they'd miraculously work again. The AAA breakdown service was saying it was happening to at least 4 cars a day. Speculation has it that the weird juju is actually coming from a giant cluster of antennas at the top of the building. Okay, next we're gonna have a little fun down on Coney Island at number 5. Legend has it you'll get stuck on the Coney Island Cyclone. You may or may not live to tell the tale. Okay, not only may you get stuck, but you guys may also have to delete your footage of it. I love Coney Island. I went in 2016 and had all of the fun. In Coney Island's Luna Park, you can ride on one of the world's oldest roller coasters. This honey is still made from wood, which actually terrifies me on a whole new level. The 91-year-old roller coaster is an official New York City landmark and has only seen 3 deaths in the last 35 years, so, you know, semi-safe. That being said, it has garnered a reputation for being the most dangerous roller coaster in America. For me, riding an old roller coaster is scary because, I mean, it's old, wear and tear and all of that. Legend has it that if you ride this wooden dinosaur, there is a high chance you'll get stuck at the top. I didn't, but on Perez Hilton's website, he shared some snaps of some people that did. Terrifyingly, it seems that they had to walk down the tracks to safety. Worse still, there are rumors that the park will ask you to delete your footage if you capture a breakdown in action. Like, what is this? Nonetheless, I do still think it's worth a trip to Coney Island because it's really fun. Coming into number 4, we have the eerie legends of Grand Central's Whispering Wall. Grand Central is beautiful, isn't it? According to local legends, there is one part of Grand Central Station that you can stand in and hear a person whisper from the opposite side. It must be pretty spooky to stand in a place and hear a disembodied voice whispering beside you. Apparently the phenomenon occurs near the Oyster Bar and restaurant, and if you're standing under 4 archways in the lower concourse, you are able to whisper to people 10 meters away. They can be facing the opposite direction and still hear you. This actually makes for perfect spy chat. Apparently during construction in the station, something happened to disturb the acoustics, rendering the whispering walls defunct. Luckily though, now the construction's over, the whispering walls are back in action. Can you even imagine what has been whispered into these walls if walls could talk? I mean, I bet they'd have some juicy gossip. Coming into number 3, we have the Headless Ghost of Brooklyn Bridge. I think that Brooklyn Bridge is absolutely beautiful. The bridge that connects Dumbo in Brooklyn to the southern tip of Manhattan was built in 1870 and has seen its fair share of wanderers. Not only that, a number of construction workers died during building the bridge. There are a lot of urban legends when it comes to one of New York City's most iconic landmarks, not to even mention the Cold War bunker that was found on the site. The most prolific tale, however, is that of the headless ghost who wanders up and down the bridge at night. The headless figure is reported to be that of a worker who was decapitated in 1883 as a cable snapped and took his head with it. Concerningly, the bridge is also a popular suicide spot. Side note, when I was on Brooklyn Bridge a few years ago, I was alarmed to look up and see a lady with a huge snake standing there, like, get that snake off the bridge. Apparently, she's often there charging tourists for pictures, but really, I could live without a snake on a bridge picture. Coming in at number 2, we have the legend of Sid and Nancy and Room 100. New York has seen its fair share of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and often, we know how that ends. In 1978, New York was shocked and mystified by the death of Nancy Spungen, the girlfriend of punk rocker Sid Vicious. Sid was an English rock and roll star who rose to fame as the bassist of the Sex Pistols. Nancy was a groupie who became involved with the band and Sid after being expelled from the school and travelling to London. The young woman wasn't very well liked by the public as the media always crucified her. They portrayed her as being lewd and rude and outrageous, just like her boyfriend. When the Sex Pistols split in '78, the pair moved into Room 100 of Hotel Chelsea in New York, where they spent their days getting high. One October October morning, Nancy was found dead with stab wounds in her stomach in the pair's bathroom in their hotel suite. Sid was arrested for her murder but died of a heroin overdose before he could stand trial. Who actually killed Nancy is up for debate, with many saying it was a botched robbery. Others speculated that she was killed by her dealer. Some even say that stand-up comic Rocket's red glare killed her. The case was closed but never solved, and a lot of people still wonder today. On top of that, many rock and roll tourists like to visit the Chelsea Hotel to see if they can feel the notorious couple's presence. Finally, coming into number 1, we have Legends of the Mole People. So in part 1, we talked about sewer alligators and crocodiles, but this time we are chatting mole people. When the New York City subway opened in 1904, stories of underground dwellers started circulating, but it wasn't until the 1990s that mole fever swept the city as first-hand accounts started becoming widespread. It seems that a lot of citizens think that there are communities of people living in the lost tunnels of the subway. There were a lot of rumors about these dwellers back in the day. Some say that they can see in the dark and that they speak their own language. Some even went as far as to say that the dwellers were cannibals, outcasts from society. So it turns out that there are people living down there, but very few people, and generally speaking, they're down on their luck, homeless people desperately trying to avoid being hit by trains. Nonetheless, that doesn't stop the people of New York City talking. So guys, that was the top 10 scary New York City urban legends. Here's what you guys had to say about part 1. One of you was adamant that you want scary Walmart urban legends, and do you know what? I'm actually kind of down with that. Like, there must be some scary stuff that goes on when those lights turn off. Never Ending Purpose said, "Very interesting, thank you for posting. I never knew or heard anything about the ghost train concerning the Hellgate Bridge, but I have heard that back in the 1800s or so, many ships were sunk due to severe undercurrents, and that there was one ship that had a lot of gold on it. To this day, it has yet to be discovered. I would also love for you to cover North and South Brother Islands that are between Queens and the Bronx. North Brother Island has a lot of history, including Typhoid Mary. Also, Hart's Island just off the Bronx, which is home to the Potters." I think that sounds amazing. Like, I'd love to do that, and I will definitely research the sunken ships and their gold. Is this the gold that's supposed to be hidden on Liberty Island? Let me know. And if any of you guys have got any more suggestions for New York urban legends, do let me know. Once again, don't forget to let me know if you've ever been to New York City and what your favorite thing to do there is. For now, I'm your host, Rebecca Felgate. If you like this video, make sure you show me by giving it a good thumbs up, sharing it with a friend, and staying subscribed for more most amazing lists. Bye!